Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. Thank you for showing up again. I think I have allergies because the dust is really horrible today. The wind's blowing awful today. Um, I guess this is a story time. It's gonna be like a comparison between a small town versus a big town, big city. I live in a small town right now, but I used to live in a bigger city. Uh, I kind of like living in a small town. The only thing is there's limited choices, and it can be kind of expensive too. Like if you're going out to eat, there's only like a few places you can pick from. I think we have a McDonald's, a Sonic, and a Pizza Hut. I think those are the only three main restaurants, or large chain restaurants that we have. And then we have like the smaller, I don't know, three or four smaller family-owned small restaurants. And they're usually closed like on a Sunday, which today is Sunday, and I thought I could go to Sonic and get me my happy hour drink, but they were closed. And I don't know if that was because of the coronavirus. I can't remember if they're really open. I thought they were normally open on Sunday. That sucks. But yeah, you have few limited choices for food, and for just about everything. There's like a few convenience stores. We have, I think, 3 convenience stores, and I think one of them stays open 24 hours, but because of this COVID-19 coronavirus stuff, I think it's been closing like 11 or 12. And bathrooms. If you're going out about town, there's only a few places you can use the bathroom at. You better go before you leave your house, especially with the coronavirus, now that I think McDonald's closed on the inside, and Sonic is a drive-through anyway, and Pizza Hut, I think that's closed on the inside too. I think they only deliver now. There's a few places you can get a tire change, or just a few mechanic places, but they are open, pretty much whenever they want. If they want to open late, they have different set hours. It's just different in a small town. The flow of business is a lot different. And some of these other businesses, some of the people actually work a second job, and then they have the business as a side job, or the first job, one or the other. So you kind of have to plan on, if I'm gonna get car repair, you got to go talk to the person and tell them, are you gonna be open this morning, or like that. That can kind of be a little. And this is probably good or bad. I don't know. To me, it's a bad thing. I don't want to say a certain word because of the algorithm, but illegal substances seem to flourish in small towns, and I don't know why that really is. I guess, I don't know. I mean, they do in big cities too, but it just seems like for a small town, you'd think there wouldn't be so much activity like that, but there is, unfortunately. But the cops, if you call the cops, this is probably a good thing. If you call the cops, the whole force will show up at your house. They'll be there in like a minute. So it is kind of a safe place. I feel safer in a small town. And if you have a warrant or you're a criminal, I don't think small town's a good place for you to hide. I mean, a lot of people tend to think, oh, disappear into a small town, but that's not true. They get to know pretty much everybody, and they will stop you eventually, and they will stop you several times eventually. And just to make sure who you are, or the police force where I live, they're pretty good about knowing who you are, and we have a very low crime rate. I think we've only had like 2 murders in like 30 years or something. I don't know, something like that. And oh, gas. If you don't have enough gas to get to work, if the gas pumps are empty here, which well, I was walking for a while because I didn't have a car, and that sucks. But it's a small town, you can get around, and I also had a bike, so for a couple of years, I had to do that, and it was hard. But now that I have a car, I always have to make sure I have at least a quarter of a tank so I can get to the next city just in case something happens here. Because this happened before I got a car. A lot of the gas pumps, I don't know what it was, it's some kind of gas scare or something was going on. And they were saying that the gas was we're gonna have gas shortage and all that, like back in the 70s, and that never did happen. But there were several of the gas pumps that were they were wrapped up, they were closed down. They didn't have enough gas, or I don't know what it was, but always make sure you have at least a quarter to a half a tank to make sure you can get to the other city, because most people work in the other city. This is like a very small town, and most businesses are family owned, and they kind of wheel their positions to the next family member, so it's kind of hard to get a job here sometimes. There's McDonald's and, like I say, a few of the little restaurants, but there's very low paying jobs, and if you really want to make it, you've got to get a job in the next town over, because the next town over is about almost 250,000 people, so there's plenty of jobs there. But here, you either have to work for the city to have a good job, or be an independent business owner, to have enough money. And it's not a dying town, but it's kind of stagnant, so there's not like a whole lot of businesses. Certain businesses will open up, but then they'll close down, because the only businesses that really survive here are food or restaurants, small restaurants, because we don't have much choices, so people flock to them when you first open up. And it has to be, well, we really haven't had a whole lot of them open up. There's been just main ones for several years. There was a Dairy Queen that was on one of the outskirts roads going towards the other town, the bigger town, and people used to go there a lot, and it closed down. I think Dairy Queen, they closed a lot of their little small town Dairy Queens years ago, and another business, they bought it, or another person bought it, and they were trying to make a restaurant out of it, but I think they've had some trouble because the population really isn't very big here. But you have to know how to market your business here, or you're going to fail miserably. And probably one of the biggest drawbacks is everybody knows your business. If you want a secret, keep it to yourself and don't tell anybody. And if you don't like somebody, they may be related to half the town, or they may be friends with half the town. I really haven't had any issues with that, but I've noticed that kind of culture in this small town, and I think that's probably true in almost every small town. So anything you do is going to be put on blast really, really fast, and if people don't like you, or if you have issues, like I say, if you are in a situation with a certain person and that person owns a business or another business, or other businesses have relatives of the person that you know, that can be a situation for you, because that's just pretty common in a small town. And the gossip and the things that go on, it's kind of like in high school or junior high. A small town is kind of like that. It just goes from one place to the other, just one house to the other. Oh, did you know? Did you know? Did you see? And it's pretty much in full view of everybody if you're in a really small town. But some of the better things are the low crime. Like I say, we haven't had hardly any murders here. There's not very many. If you steal a car, you're not going to be able to hide it, and you better leave town pretty quick, because it'll be found in a few hours, probably less than that. And the cost of housing is a lot cheaper, though. You can buy a small house here. There's a lot of older abandoned houses, and you can buy them, fix them up. That's pretty much in just about every small town, because a lot of people, they Their parents may live in a small town, but once they go to school, they graduate, they may want to go to college, they have to go to somewhere bigger. And even if they're not going to college, they want a better job, they're going to move to a bigger city or, something, they just want to get out of here. And so a small town is a good place to retire in, I think, and a good place to grow up in. But in your middle years, if you want to experience more life or, be more prosperous, you're probably going to have to go somewhere where there's more opportunity, better jobs, better paying jobs. And I'm at the point where eventually I'm still working. Eventually I want to retire. I'll probably retire in a small town, I think. The traffic is also another good thing. There's hardly any traffic, or even if there is, it's just like the main road, and that takes like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, if even, to get from one end to the other. And the taxes, the house taxes, property taxes are a lot cheaper than in a bigger city. The only thing is sometimes the utilities can be just as much as a larger city. Like the water bill here is ridiculous. It's almost $100 even just for that base amount. And then if you want to water your yard or fill up a kiddie pools or do whatever in the summertime, it can cost you a lot more. So overall, I think living in a small town is good if you're retired. It's a good place to raise children, a really good place to raise children, I think, better than a bigger city. And if you want to open a small business and there's not any business like that, you're not going to have any competition then, so that is a good thing. But if it's if there's like 5 mechanic shops and you want to open a mechanic shop, it's going to be hard to, prosper. So you got to pick the right business. I would say things like a restaurant, probably a restaurant, or either maybe another small like grocery store, or just a little, I don't know what to call it, like a variety store, whatever, where you can go get Kleenex, toilet paper, and odd and end stuff, household goods. You might be able to pull that off, but other than that, it's really hard to maintain a life, or not a life, make a living here, unless you have that one business that is prosperous above most of the others, or if you're already retired and you already have money or something like that. But overall, I do like it. I do go to the other big city to go to Walmart and to sometimes just to have something different to eat, just to kind of get away. Sometimes I do that, but I do work in the other city anyway. I go there 5 days a week, so I'm right on the outskirts. I drive from one city to the other, right to that end, and there's my job. And then if I want to go into the city after I'm through working to go get groceries or do whatever, because the produce here is a little bit more expensive, so you have to wait for a sale if you really want to, save money. If not, you have to go to Walmart or somewhere else, But those are kind of the choices of living in a small town. You have to trade off on what you want or what you don't like. The housing part I really do like, but you have to you're going to have a lot of money to pay the down payment, and if you can get financed, if the bank will finance you, because some of the houses may need repairs. They haven't been lived in for a while. But that's a good thing if you're going to retire. But a lot of kids, they're not going to come back to the place where they grew up in, a small town, until they retire. They're gonna work in a bigger city, save their money, make their money, but in those middle years, that's when they tend to leave. Okay, thank you for listening, and subscribe, like, comment. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.